The right wing first got interested in punk right early doors, really early doors, because I mean the whole swastika thing brought people in. McLaren must have the responsibility for that.
Together with partner Vivienne Westwood, Malcolm's shock tactic use of totalitarian symbols such as the swastika was unsurprisingly misinterpreted.
I think there's truth in the argument that using the Nazi regalia and the swastikas did attract skinheads.
Whatever they were trying to do, at that time, it was a really profoundly stupid and naive thing to do.
Sid used to walk around with a studded swastika on the back of his black jacket. He would think it would be clever to demystify the swastika. By everyone wearing it, it would mean nothing, it would be reinvented.
However, you may want to get into some abstract debates about base and structure and symbolism and demystification. When you've got fucking Nazis coming down the street burning Asian families with swastikas, well, what the fuck are you wearing a swastika for?
I remember my parents being very upset, not by the music or anything, but by the Nazi association, and I was too.
And the best of the punk bands, I don't think, very quickly dropped Nazi memorabilia.
The punk-inspired oi scene's misguided use of certain imagery also attracted some unwanted interest from the far right and gained some far from right-wing bands an undeserved reputation in the process.
Suddenly groups that latched onto it, real rubbish groups, all that oi scene as kind of hyped up by Gary Bush or some oath kind of selling as oafishness.
My band isn't an oi band, whatever it is. I'd love somebody to explain to us and say, this is what I think it is, and then I'll tell you if I am one, because I'm certainly don't think I am, you know.
20th century! The great myths about oi was A, that it was all skinhead when it wasn't, B, that all skins are Nazis when they never ever were, and C, that it was some sort of political thing when it wasn't really. It was just, all it was really was a working class rock music.
As well as the routine ration of insults to the establishment, oi music and lyrics go a good deal further, with titles such as Gang Warfare, Riot Riot and Blood on the Streets. In July, some 200 skinheads swarmed into Southall for a concert at the Hamborough Tavern. They came in vans and coaches festooned with offensive slogans and insulted local Asians, smashing windows in their high street shops.
The bands were playing and all of a sudden petrol bombs started coming through the window. So the idea, all of the violence that day was actually targeted at them.
I was actually working with my dad at a factory in Southall when that was going on, and that was very scary. There was a lot more open racism, and it became quite a violent place.
The title of this recently issued album, Strength Through Oi, is a pun on the Nazi slogan, Strength Through Joy. And the figure on the sleeve is Nick Crane, former North Kent organiser of the British movement, now serving 4 years for conspiracy to assault and incitement to racial hatred.
Strength Through Oi, in retrospect, the title was a mistake and the album cover was a mistake, and it's a mistake I take full and total responsibility for.
I mean, you put together a record of oi music that had as its title Strength Through Oi, which is a parody of a Nazi slogan. You must have known it was a Nazi slogan.
Did you know that before Southall? I didn't.
People with hindsight will turn around and say, well, Strength Through Oi, this was a play on the Nazi slogan, Strength Through Joy. Well, I didn't know that.
I thought of the Oi of Sex from Joy of Sex. I thought of Oi Division from Joy Division.
It was a play on the Skids EP title, Strength Through Joy, which had come out in January of that year.
Well, I think in retrospect we made a few mistakes, yeah, but I mean, Oi movement the Oi music per se is not racialist. It's never been racialist. All it is pro-working class people.
And if you look at the bands on Strength Through Oi, none of those could be described as right-wing bands. You look at some of the dedications, you've got Jesse Owens in there from 1936 Olympics, who's hardly the master race's favourite person.
In reality, the fascist stronghold on Britain's political scene was a small and tenuous affair, and so they began to set their sights on the big successes at the top of the charts.
The British movement were never more than about 200 strong all across London, and the bands they targeted were Sham 69 and the two-tone bands, for obvious reasons.
In
terms of the whole kind of skinhead presence at those two-tone gigs, when we played the Hammersmith Palette, when Select came on stage, we came out on stage to, I suppose, a sea of skinheads all zikiling at us, which was pretty strange because it was a predominantly black band. We only had one white member.
And the British movement and the NF were terrifying. They weren't there for the music, they were there to turn it into a racist rally.
I would say that the Special was the most culturally important band to have come out of that time.
The success of the Special's multicultural ska punk fusion also made them a prime target for the far right.
Ghost Town, you know, that being #1, the week of the Brixton riots, you know what I mean? And that's a pretty incredible achievement.
The Ghost Town #1, to me, was emblematic of that whole punk idea of no future. It was kind of like we've been through this incredible convulsion of punk, and yet still there's nothing to do. Everything's closing down. That's exactly where we were in 75, 76, and we're back here again.
The Specials, if you look at them in context of the politics of the time, every gig involved a riot. I mean, Two-Tone was such an amazing thing because they were an interracial band at a time of racial segregation, and all of their music had an intense and very immediate connection with the politics of the time. It was obvious they were going to split up because they couldn't hold it together because it was just too intense.
Facing similar problems was Sham 69.
Jimmy Percy, singing with the group Sham 69 songs such as Borstal Breakout, was then dismayed when he had to face fighting among his skinhead audience.
I remember going to Sham's last stand at the Rainbow. It was mental, it was so scary. 3 songs in, the stage is invaded by the NF, and Jimmy Percy's on his knees crying. The metal curtain comes down. There's like about 200 skins battering the metal curtain and start shouting Sieg Heil and facing the audience. And it was like being at a Nazi rally.
I was trying not to be a preacher, but there I found myself preaching to these people, saying, I don't get off on what you are, I can't stand who you are, and it made them come back more and more to go, well, we're good, we're pissing you off, understand, in a minute we'll piss you off so much you'll pack it in.
If you're going to stand in front of me, right, and Sieg Heil, right, to me you're making a political statement. Not only are you making a political statement, you're inviting confrontation.
I did everything I could possibly do to actually get rid of Nazis in this country, and actually nobody's patted me on the fucking back at the Brit Awards to say, well done Jimmy, out of all the people in the world, you understand, politically, that got rid of skinheads in this country, it was you, because it was.
When the punk years returns, enough is enough, punk fights the right, and the anarcho-punk politic success of Crass.